Very cool things happen every day, and today the very cool thing is that I'm having a friend visit that I am so excited to see. It's been a little while since we've seen each other, but we've seen each other many, many times over the years because Tricia Gray has worked everywhere, and I am so excited to welcome Tricia Gray to EP Live. Come on up, Tricia. Yay! Can I have a hug?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
Good to be here.
Amazing. So let's go back in time a little bit, and we did try to find this footage, but we could not find this footage. But you
Thank
and I
God.
met in the first season of Electric Playground, even prior to that, I think 1996.
Yes.
And you were working on a little game
Called Tomb Raider.
that we had no idea what was going to happen
Yeah,
with this
nobody
game.
did, yeah.
But you were testing it.
Yes, I was a tester there. I started my career off, working at Video Game Slams, which was a competitor of yours.
Right.
We were a public access TV show, but the people that worked there were testers at Sega and Sony, and so they got me a job.
That's right.
And then I started working at IDOS as a tester, and I was one of the first testers at the IDOS studio in San Francisco on Tomb Raider.
Right, and that was on Brannan Street or something like that, or
No, this was when it was near the Embarcaderos.
Unreal.
Yeah, like above that Irish bar.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you were like 17 years old or
Yes, I
something.
was
You were so young, and right away I noticed that, like, this is an incredible story that you're already sort of helping to shape these games, because the team size at Core was not that big.
No.
So you as a tester, and as an avid player, you had a lot of input on how this game was going to turn out.
Yeah, actually the whole entire U.S. team did. Mike Schmidt was the producer at the time.
Love you, Mike, wherever
Mike
you are.
is awesome, and I know like Frank, Hom, and like Tom Marks, they all helped pitch in mostly. I was just there to test the bugs, honestly,
Yes,
but
yeah.
we did get lots of input to them. I was just excited to actually play a game with a female lead character.
Yes.
And I was excited to see guys actually play this woman.
Yeah.
And eventually I became the PR manager for Tomb Raider 2.
Yep.
Gary Keith was the original PR manager who oversaw everything. And it was really weird because we would get Valentine's Day cards and chocolates and weird stuff sent to the office for Laura Croft. So it became this.
What, from who? From fans?
From fans, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insanity.
I think we got something even weirder in the mail, which I won't discuss.
Oh my
but
God.
It got kind of weird at a certain point. But it was very interesting to see that whole culture, and not just culture, but the progression of technology too, from like triangular boobs to like more polygons into the shape. I wrote a whole article once about that on I forget what the site it was, but like just like how polygons used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
And how everything has changed and progressed on, and like even look at it now, like Tomb Raider is like
It was photoreal.
yeah, it's like photoreal now. So
Yeah.
and I was there when I remember we had this huge meeting, and Keith Boski and Sutton Trout were like, "We're gonna get Angelina Jolie to play."
I was
Laura
just
Croft.
going to ask that.
Yeah.
You were there when all that was happening.
When all that was going down. Yeah.
Amazing. Were you still there when that first movie came out?
Yeah, I actually wasn't there when the movie came out, but I was there when they were filming the movie.
Yeah.
I went over to launch a little company called Rockstar.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so but let's stay on Tomb Raider here for a second, because this is an incredibly unique perspective. Because IDOS wasn't that big either at that time.
Right. They just merged. So it was U.S. Gold and Domark.
Yeah.
And they merged to create IDOS.
Yes.
And yeah, Core was a team.
Like 10 people or 15
over in
people.
England, yeah.
Yeah, we sent an old director on EP out to visit those guys, and he just showed up with a camera and just walked around, and people were like, "Who is this guy?" You know. But we shot some stuff and aired it in the show. But I recognized how small it was. But we were shooting at IDOS all the time, and it was also just a burgeoning new studio, right?
Yeah.
Or a new publishing house at that time.
Yeah, everything was all new and different, and this was the first time I actually worked with the whole entire teams, because before I was at Sony and Sega, I just stuck with the producers and just did bug reports and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had like one PR guy, one marketing director, two marketing women that worked in marketing, and then we also had engineering in with us that were the US based guys, and then our producers, and it was interesting because I didn't realize like there were bigger studios and bigger companies, and like that's how the games industry worked.
Yes.
So it was nice to be a part of that when it was really small.
Well, it's also It's probably still true to this day. I mean, it's still a very accepting industry, and people are still, you know, very much into kind of networking and getting to know each other. But back then, especially, it felt like you could meet anyone.
Oh, you met everybody, yeah.
At every level, and we're all Facebook friends.
Yes.
There's probably like 1,000 of us that have sort of grown up with games, and we're all in touch all the time.
Yeah.
But it must have been astounding to be at the ground level with Tomb Raider and watch it become this global icon.
Yeah, it was you know, it's kind of like a rich kid, like, that grows up in a rich environment, and they don't really understand, like, the reality somewhere else. Because later on I went to go work for a smaller publisher where I didn't have big budgets and stuff like that, and people weren't calling me for invites or press releases or anything when I started doing PR and stuff. So in the beginning, you know, one of the things that I did PR-wise was I always, like, talked to all the you know, there was the big magazine people. Back then it was always about the magazines and TV shows.
Yes.
And then, you know, secondary was the, you know, IGNs and the
websites,
and
the
then there were the
emerging
small ones. But I always made sure that I sent out Tomb Raider copies to all those smaller guys. And those guys ended up becoming like Sam Kennedy and going. Like,
Sam is on next week.
Sam is doing a game now.
I know.
Sam and James. Like,
they're on next week.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's funny how, like, where people start off on the bottom and work their way.
That's a Drake song,
and
I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I really appreciate me growing up even in this industry. I was a teenager. Yeah. And now I'm in my 40s. So.
Well, and you know, you went from Tomb Raider to Rockstar pre-Grand Theft?
Well, yeah. So Grand Theft Auto was originally this PC game, and I loved it. And it was this 2D PC game. And Grand Theft Auto 2, which I helped work on PR-wise, it was still going to be 2D, 3D at the time. But
and that was David. What's the guy's name? David. I'm losing it.
No, it's Gary Penn.
What's his name?
No, Sam Hauser.
Well, the Hauser brothers ran Rockstar, but David from DMA Design.
DMA, yeah, like it was Gary. I thought it was like Gary Penn, and I'm forgetting David's last name.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and I love those games. Like those PC games are amazing. So I was. Yep. So a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't you live in New York? And we're starting up this new company, and Take-Two is going to be the parent company for it." And I was like, "Sure." So this was my job interview. I flew out to New York, and I was wearing a suit and everything, and I walk in, and Sam Hauser looks at me, and he asked me a few, like, professional questions, and then he was like, "Is this all you got?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's in your suitcase?" And I was like, because I don't know, they have, like, street clothes. And then Terry Donovan, who was the marketing director, was like,
Terry,
"Could you just put your street clothes on?"
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, "Okay." So
you're making people feel uncomfortable in your suit.
So then, mind you, I was only 20.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was going to New York to be professional.
Sure, of course.
I watched way too much Felicity and Sex and the City at the time.
Yeah.
So then they took me to some club restaurant, like, down in the Bowery area.
Yep.
And Sam was like, "All right, this is your real interview. I want 10, you have to give me 10 business cards from people." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Go hustle and get me 10 business cards." And then they all kind of turned and ignored me.
Wow.
So I, like, got up out of the table, and this would be completely illegal. I mean, it probably was completely illegal back then too, but like, I went and, like, walked around and, "Hey, can I have your business card? What do you do for a living?"
Why is that illegal?
Well, I don't know. Isn't that like a weird job interview?
Oh, yeah. Oh, from there?
Yeah.
I think the Rockstar guys did a lot of illegal things along the way.
They did.
Or not proper HR etiquette
No,
things along the way.
they were very, like, very not proper.
Yeah, but I think the industry was sowing its seed roots. What's the phrase? But they were figuring it out, right?
Yeah, and, you know, I was young, and I was kind of like, go with the flow.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you're just kind of like, I don't want to do this crap anymore. But I got 20 business cards, and I, like, threw it on the table, and then we left to go to their apartment back in the day was down on Water Street near the stock exchange and stuff like that. And they just made me play soccer until 6 in the morning when I had to catch my flight back to San Francisco, and then they hired me. So
So that's what you would say to anybody trying to get in the video game industry.
Yeah,
right
just
now.
play soccer
Just
with Sam Hauser.
That's all you gotta do. So how many people were at Rockstar when you started there?
Oh my gosh! So
I told you this interview was going to be awesome.
Yeah, it
right?
was crazy.
Incredible.
There was, I think, like 7 of us or 8, and that was it.
Was Geronimo there?
Geronimo was there. He was the original producer, and he's the one that got me the job.
No
so
shit.
he was
That's
the one.
awesome.
Oh, can we cuss?
We can cuss a little.
Yes. So he was the one that called me up and was like, "Listen, we got something really crazy going on.
Yeah.
You need to come over and do
Geronimo just left Rockstar
yes.
after all that time.
All that time.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 was his last baby.
Yeah, it was. I can't believe he I mean, I could believe it, and I also can't believe it. He lasted that long. But yeah. So I was there, and we had this crazy talented people, and we had like Jung Kwok, who used to be the owner of Rookie Skateboards, which I used to like idolize as a skateboarder, like, oh, all-female skateboard company, and she was our graphics designer.
That's awesome.
And so is Kara Mu, who's over at doing stuff like on Bing and Microsoft, like she's doing like design work for them now. And
well, you do a lot of work with game companies now,
yes.
and have done for a lot of years.
Yes.
I want to ask about Rockstar's uniqueness.
Yes.
Like, what made that company what it is? Because you could not isolate, based on Smuggler's Run and Grand Theft Auto 2, that they would be the juggernaut that they are today.
You know, Sam is a genius. Like, you know, as much as friction that I had working there, like he was a genius, and he wanted to do everything not about the games industry.
Yes.
And we knew that there were people out there that weren't like these like typical what they call nerds or whatnot. Like it was like Sam was like, everybody plays games. We need to make it cool.
Yeah.
And that's what really excited me about going to work there, because I was like, I'm all about like, you know, our community and like making stuff cool for the community. And we just like took all the boxes that you're supposed to do and threw them away and did the PR, the marketing, like everything like completely different from everybody else. And they did that the same way with design wise, like when they went in to go start designing games and you know, making games with all the other smaller developers that they acquired, they were just like, let's just throw away all the boxes and let's just do the things that we want to do in our head. So
that's awesome.
I think that's what's
from the press side. We had lots of access and lots of interviews.
Okay.
Interviewed Geronimo and Dan Hauser and lots of guys that worked there. Jamie King, I think.
Jamie,
up until Grand Theft Auto 3, and then we never got any access at all ever again.
Yeah.
We'd call them. I once, you know, we had EP Daily running all over North America. We were in 150 million homes, and I said to the PR person I was dealing with at Rockstar, why don't we make a special episode?
Was it Jeff Castaneda at the time?
I think it was post-Jeff.
Post-Jeff, okay, I got it.
I said, why don't we make a special episode about Rockstar, but we'll visit all your studios and we'll do a little thing on every sort of aspect and what makes everyone a little bit culturally different. And it was like, no thanks. But come to New York and we'll go for lunch.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't want to go for lunch. I can't shoot the lunch. I want to go and see but no, we don't want any of that.
Yeah, I heard Sam just kind of got a little Howard Hughes and like just didn't want to deal with it.
They didn't need it.
And they didn't need it. And you know, in the beginning, he really didn't want to deal with the press. Like I remember the first press release I wrote was about his mom being an actress. It was like this non-press release thing. And I know that he didn't really have an affinity to like kind of like play the game, so to speak. Like I remember our second E3, we curtained the perimeter off.
Yes.
So nobody, and I think after that they'd put a chain link fence at one point so nobody could sneak in.
They didn't want anybody into their booth unless they were invited.
Yeah. And I mean, it got jiggy. Like we did all these photo shoots and we were wearing like Prada and like, you know, it was a completely different.
Yeah, everybody outside of games recognized the cultural significance and value of the art that Rockstar was making and wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we would sponsor like underground events like raves and like we had like rappers that we would sponsor like their shows and stuff like that.
That's
and
awesome.
Like Kevin Gill did a lot of stuff. We did
Kevin
a lot
Gill,
of and so it was really cool, like coming from like the punk culture that I came from in skateboarding and stuff like that. Like, you know, I was so excited to be working there, but unfortunately I really just didn't like living in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did you last at Rockstar?
Oh, like 7 months.
Oh no
way. It
way.
was just 7 months.
Oh, wow.
It was 7 months, and then I did some stuff for them on a contracting level, and moved back to San Francisco.
Yep.
Got Jeff Castaneda a job there to replace me because I loved
Oh,
him.
you brought Jeff in?
Yeah, because Jeff was working at a small, like I think at ASCII or something like that.
Yes.
And he had like a crazy commute, and I was like, oh, I'll hook you up, dude. Like you should work in New York.
Oh, and he had a long run
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
We're talking about one of the premier PR people in games for a long time was Jeff Castaneda.
Yeah.
And he went to MTV,
Yeah,
I think,
he went to
after,
MTV, yeah.
and now he's at Samsung or something like that. But he had a long run at Rockstar. He
Yeah.
was the Rockstar guy for everybody on the press side,
Right.
And you got him the gig there.
Yeah, I got
That's
him the
amazing.
gig there, yeah.
And so, after you leave a company like Rockstar, I imagine the doors are kind of wide open for you, right?
The doors are open, but I went back and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I had a taste for music for a really long time, and at Rockstar I hired Nasty Little Man production PR.
Okay.
And they're the guys that do the Beastie Boys and
Oh,
Rage
wow.
Against the Machine, and so that was like the other thing that because Sam and Terry were like, we want to do everything out of the box.
Yes. Oh, you had access to everybody.
Yeah, so we were just like, okay, well, I'm not going to hire your typical Viola Davis PR, industry team.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get somebody cool like Nasty Little Man. So I hired Nasty Little Man, and I worked with Steve Martin, who's the principal owner over there.
Yeah.
And like I said, like he does like Arcade Fire and like Nine Inch Nails and
Wow.
Foo Fighters and stuff. So he was our external PR person, but working with him and seeing how he does, I was like, well, maybe I should work in music, maybe I should do this. And I ended up becoming a journalist
Yep.
after that for Computer Games Magazine.
Oh, wow.
I kind of went back to my roots of hardcore computer games, and I was their West Coast editor for a little bit, and then that magazine kind of went under.
Yeah, tough times in the magazine
most
business.
magazines
Yes,
did.
yeah.
And then I started working at oh my god, I don't even remember the name of that company. I'm just totally spaced out.
That's all right. It's
like a tiny little publishing company.
What did they do?
They did like Big Mother Truckers,
Oh, I don't know that.
right?
Yeah.
And like Ford Racing.
I'm
and-
sure I reviewed Big Mother Truckers, but I don't remember who made
Yeah,
that
I don't remember I can't even space on like I know the people that work there, but it was a really small, like initially they wanted it to be a boutique publishing company, but they ended up doing just like really cheap games, which was cool for me because I came from multi-million-dollar budgets, and then going to this smaller place where we had no budget for anything, and that's when I started doing more marketing than PR. And I had to be really smart about like, okay, well, we don't have any money, so how are we gonna promote this? And part of it was like price point too, because one of the things I brought up with them was like Deer Hunter was one of the best-selling games.
Right, had no PR, no marketing.
PR, no marketing, and it was all because of price point.
Yeah.
So then we just kind of switched out and just started doing like super cheap.
I've been saying, I mean, the games industry has closed the door on massive kind of adoption and people sort of jumping on board because of this price gate.
Yeah.
This $60 minimum price gate is so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I actually have another anecdotal story about that. Like when I was working at Cryptic eventually, like I went over and jumped over to do MMOs, and my passion actually, I really love the community and I really love developers, so I just wanted to work inside a development team, and I got my chance at Flagship. But this story came after Flagship. I started working at Cryptic, and I remember we were having a hard time about how we were going to price point Champions.
Yeah,
and
which was a great game.
It was a great game, and Atari had just acquired Cryptic.
Yep.
And I remember talking to the Atari marketing team, and I was like, listen, people have to pay for their internet service, people have to pay for the box copy, and then the subscription thing, and we're no Blizzard. Like, I think we should just make a good, like what I learned from, working with a smaller company, like maybe we should just open the gate and make it cheaper and have people come in, because the more we get, the better it is. And
Totally.
I remember they were like, do you have an MBA? Like questioning like my college and like my experience, or like, we need to do and I was like, well, if you're gonna do a box, let's just do a really cool collector's edition and just call it a day. But don't let people pay for all these things. It's not,
because they're starting pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what's happening with looter shooters and
yes.
Like the industry in lots of ways right now.
Yeah.
Like if Anthem came out for free, people would probably be a little bit more forgiving of that game right now.
Yeah, well, people still like to complain.
Yeah, they do.
They do like
and, I'm not suggesting every game should come out for free either, because that creates a whole bunch of other sort of scenarios. But I definitely think that full value price point, which is based on antiquated distribution mechanisms and retail establishments and the rent in the stores. Honestly, the store sales would go up if the prices were less.
Yeah.
More people would go in and buy stuff from their stores.
Yeah.
They want foot traffic. They don't, you know. But definitely, digitally, games should be a lot cheaper than that they are.
Yeah,
I've been saying that for years.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird, like, working with them, because then I said that we should all go digital.
Yeah.
Everything's going digital.
Yeah.
I was like, digital,
So this
digital.
was like 2004.
Yeah, around that time. And people were like, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. Where's your MBA from? I was like, I promise you everything's going digital.
That is amazing. So far, for those keeping track at home, and by the way, there's a baby in the house. This is your baby. What's your
my baby?
What's your baby's?
My big one is Kaya, but she's not
Okay.
making a lot of noise.
She doesn't want to be called a baby anymore.
No,
I'll
but
tell you
she's
that
still my
right.
baby.
Okay.
And then
Baby number
my
one.
little baby
Yes.
is Ragnar.
Hi, Ragnar. It's not Blake. I know some people at home were thinking maybe Blake was crying about something being out of focus or something, but no, that's Ragnar. Ragnar the baby is here with us, which is awesome. But so far, for those keeping score at home, Tricia worked at IDOS on video games, worked on a video game TV show, worked at Rockstar in video games, did some testing, did some PR, did some marketing, worked at Cryptic, worked as a journalist at Computer Games Magazine,
Yes.
and we're not even into the mid-2000s.
And you know, yeah, I know.
Yes.
And the sad thing is, most of these companies went under, and that's
Yeah.
why I jumped ship.
But
Yeah.
importantly,
Yeah.
you are still very active
Yes,
in video
I
games.
am.
You did not leave.
I didn't.
And that's true amongst most of us.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
most of the people that I met in the mid-90s, they're still in games.
Yes.
They may be in a different thing or...
I mean, look at Chris Charla.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know Chris Charla, he's the coolest.
Yeah.
And he's the director of Xbox ID at Microsoft.
Yes.
A la corporate.
Yep. Used to run Next Gen magazine.
Yeah.
And before that was just a writer and an editor and a fan. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how we've all started. We were all just super fans for all
Yeah.
of this stuff.
I just wanted a lazy job, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, where can I just
Well,
sit?
you were
and,
a
like, do
kid,
lazy
and
job?
that always
Yeah.
blew my mind. Is like, how did you know that you could do this and get paid to get in video games, and you're 17?
Well, it was either that or be a professional skateboarder. That was like my two.
pretty rad.
I couldn't go to college. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah.
I left home when I was 15, and I had to work my ass off my whole entire life, and I just couldn't afford to go to school. So I
Yeah.
was just like, well, what can I hustle at? And I always
awesome.
was really good at playing video games. I was very good at Street Fighter too.
Yes,
Thank
you were. I remember we went to your apartment after one of our IDOS visits, and we played games at your place, which was great. I brought like there was a cameraman, everybody from EP, we all went and hung out at your place.
Yes.
I'm going to start a new segment within our interviews.
Okay.
And it's going to start with you, because I was thinking about this yesterday. What is the one piece of advice, the best piece of advice, or the best observation about yourself that you can remember that you would like to share and maybe pass on that people would learn from?
Oh my God. I don't know. I have no advice for you.
Put you on the spot?
Yeah, that
Did
you
it-
should let me know this before I came here. I didn't think
Well,
about it.
somebody gave you advice that you heeded or you listened to or resonates inside.
This isn't like I had like a couple like I'll give you a couple of pieces of advices that people had gave me that I thought was crazy, and I was
Yep.
like, what are you talking about? Like this is a horrible piece of advice, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
That's all right.
Someone had told me when you go into a job, you just give them 50%.
When you start at
when
a
you
job.
start at a job.
Yeah.
And that way, when they need you to do like extra work and they whip you, you give them 75% and they think you're amazing. And so then when you do your crunches, you're not really burning yourself out. And I didn't really understand what this guy was talking about until I actually went through a crunch. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, this is what this guy is talking about.
Yes.
And it's hard for me to do that actually, because once I'm into something, I just put all of my soul and my guts and my heart into things, and that's why when things don't work out the way I want them, it's almost soul crushing for me.
Yeah.
So I think I should take that advice that someone gave me 25 years ago.
Yes, but I don't know if you want to share that advice.
Well, you asked me. I don't know. You're putting me on the spot.
No, it's.
You know what? Oh, here, I'll give you a piece of advice. Like every time I've had a team, oh my God.
Yeah, we're live in the room.
Every time I've had a team, I've always told them to get back to people immediately.
Right.
You have 12 hours to send that email back, make the call back. I don't care if you don't have the answer. You just get back to them. You say,
Wow.
I'm working on that. I'm researching on that. I don't know. It's okay to say that you don't know. You don't have it. But you need to like be really, really reactive and proactive about like getting back to people, whether it's people in the community, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a partner from another company. I hate it when people just like don't, like, there's silence, and there's like 2 or 3 days, 4 days go by, and people have to plan their day around.
Yeah.
So just get back to some of these people with just like, I don't know, and I'm working on it, or I'm going to research that. So
that is wonderful advice.
That's my big piece of advice.
I need to take that advice sometimes, but because I some days I could feel like I could just give up the whole day just replying to emails,
I know,
and I just can't do that. So I know when I sit down at a computer to do it, I'm like, I'm here for hours.
You know, just get on a clip, like a notepad, and clip it and just cut and paste. Like,
same thing.
I got your email. I'm going to look into this. I'll get back to you soon.
Sue,
yeah.
okay, I
and
like that.
Just the first, and then you could take like 2 weeks to get back to them, but just that initial
thing, yes, the received.
Yes,
that's very good advice.
So that's a nice advice. Don't take the other advice.
All right, well, let's transition now from being with game companies and game studios and trying to publish titles and get them out there and make money for the company to being middleware or an assistance kind of position, thinking about game engines. What got you going? Was it Unity that
Yeah, it was Unity. So when I was at Flagship, Flagship went under. I don't know if you know this game called Hellgate London.
Yeah.
That was
That was a heartbreak.
A very bad heartbreak, which is a whole nother episode.
Bill Roper.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, buddy. He's the best, right?
Yeah. Bill is the best.
Yes.
I love Bill.
Yeah. He ended up running Disney Interactive for a while.
Yeah, and he's
Rest in peace, Disney.
He's coming back to the United States.
That's great.
He's got some gig now in the United States. But yeah, I worked with Bill, and it was awesome. But the company went under, and one of our graphics programmer told me that he was going to move to Copenhagen, and I was like, "What's out in Copenhagen?" And he was like, "Oh, there's this company called Unity," and I was like, "What the hell is Unity?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know." He was like, "I think they make an engine, but they hired me, and I'm going to go over there." So that was kind of in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And then while I was at Cryptic, I ended up, I want to consult. I would just want to work with a bunch of people. So I had a consultant firm, which Cryptic was my first client. And then Brett Seiler, who worked at Unity at the time, got my name through a friend of a friend of a friend, and was like, "Hey, I'm working on this company called Unity." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know. You're in Copenhagen." And he was like, "Yeah, I need a marketing person." So I did contract work for them initially for a couple months, and then I just fell in love with the whole democratizing games.
Yep.
And they were really small in the U.S. at the time. Anytime I brought up Unity to anybody, they're like, "What? Who?
Yeah.
Who's that?"
Yeah.
And so I ended up becoming their communications marketing director.
Amazing. And how much time did you spend in Copenhagen?
I was in Copenhagen like all the time. I think like maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. That's one of the only cities that I've never gone to.
Unity. You need to get Victor over to Copenhagen.
I really want to go. I heard it's an incredible city.
It's a great scene. There's like tons of amazing developers over there, and like Unity should send you over there.
I would love to go.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is I work with the school here at VFS and with the students and stuff, and it's either Unity or it's Unreal that they all do all their projects on, and I just like, how do you do this in 3 months? And they have a lot of support, and there's a lot of documentation, and there's lots of shared information around all this stuff.
Yeah.
Unity used to pitch us, by the way, and it was probably through you. Every time we'd go to GDC every year, the Game Developers Conference.
I would call you guys. Yeah, I would be like, "Hey, you should come and check us out."
And so we kept doing like these interviews, but it's so inside baseball on our TV show. It's like, how do you make games, and like the engine about it, But we covered Unity every year when we went to GDC.
It's so funny because I would just pull all of my, like I said, hardly anybody at Unity worked in the games industry, and nobody in the game industry really knew who Unity was.
Yeah.
And so I would just pull all these strings, like all my big friends at Blizzard and like you guys, and I would talk to the IGNs and like just everybody and be like, "Can you cover what I'm working on? It's going to be really cool, I promise." And people were like, "Yeah, Trish, we'll do it as a favor." And I think people were just kind of like, "Yeah, all right."
You just never know.
Yeah,
right?
you just never know.
You never know. But it turned out to be massive.
Yeah.
And start something too, right?
Yeah.
And then you also worked at Unreal.
Yeah.
Were you courted because of the success?
Yeah, actually, I after I left Unity, I pinged Mark Rain. I was like, "Hey, I'm not working at Unity anymore."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I was doing contract work for them.
Unbelievable.
And I worked on launching UE4, like helping them launch UE4. And a lot of the stuff that I brought to the table was like how to get to indie developers. Like what one of the big things I told them was like, you need to be more transparent on your price point. You need to be more. The whole pricing thing really, there's a theme.
And boy, is that like their philosophy now, right?
Yeah.
Like they are taking that all the way to the bank right now. Everybody's like, "Yeah, I love Epic."
I love. The funny thing, when I worked at Unity, I loved Unreal so much. that I was like, if I worked at Epic, what would I do? And that's kind of like how I like push Unity out marketing wise and like forward facing stuff. Like if I worked at Epic, what would I change about Epic, or what would I do? Because I just loved Tim Sweeney and I thought they were really amazing and I loved their games. And then to actually work with them was a total dream.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, I didn't want to move to North Carolina, and so just did some contract work for them for a little bit. And then after that, I moved over to work on a little engine called BitSquid.
Yes. And
these two cute Swedish guys.
One of them is walking Ragnar around the space right now.
And he was the cutest.
Yeah.
So they had an engine called BitSquid, and it was not like any other engine out there. It was really, really like, I could say light, the way that they built things. Lua was the scripting language for them.
So what are there games out there that have used BitSquid?
Yeah.
Like what
Vermintide. Warhammer, Vermintide, that's on BitSquid. But they had gotten acquired by Autodesk, and they became Stingray.
Right.
And I loved...
So when that happened, you left?
Yeah, so when that happened, I worked for them for a little bit through Autodesk, and then I left, and I worked on Unigen, I worked on Coco Studios X, I worked on Sprite Builder, I worked on a portable, so I worked on a bunch of other engines.
And so you are helping to spread the gospel of engine technology.
Yes.
That ultimately led you to Amazon, which you worked out on the Lumberyard tech for a long time.
So I did all the marketing for Lumberyard and worked at Amazon. And I was like, this is going to be a great opportunity to work for a corporate company. And I didn't realize how small fries I was. And, I don't have a college degree. I have never written a dissertation. Like, I don't know how the corporate world really works. So it was kind of a shock in my face. Like, most of the stuff that I was doing at Amazon was just arguing with people and writing papers.
Oh, I'd run into you at GDC, and it felt like it was an ill fit.
Yes, it was not a good fit for me.
And they're still trying to, like, truthfully, everybody knows this in the video game industry. They're trying to find their way as a game company.
I think they did the right thing. Like, if you went to GDC and you saw their booth, it was a smash of, like, Twitch and AWS stuff. Like, so I think they did the right thing. But the funny thing is they were going to acquire BitSquid.
Oh, wow.
But instead they
bought CryEngine.
Well, they got a license for CryEngine.
Okay.
So they didn't even buy CryEngine.
Oh, wow.
Right. So yeah, that's what Lumberyard was based on. But I was so excited because finally I had $1 million. Like, I kind of was like cha-ching in my eyes. Like, what? My budget's gonna be over $1 million. I'm gonna get my own demo team. I got really greedy, and I didn't really see like the stuff around it, which was like a lot of minutia that I really don't. I'm more of an actions person, so I don't really like to spend weeks and weeks like writing and trying to convince people like this is the right thing to do. So it wasn't really a good fit. But during that whole time, I would meet up with Nicholas and Tobias over at Stingray, and I'd get them really drunk, and I'd be like, hey, when are we going to start a company together? And hoping like one time they'd be like so sloshed and drunk, they'll be like, all right, Trish, let's do it. So then one GDC, Tobias looked at me and was like, okay, let's do it. We're going to quit. And I was like, what? And he was like, but we had to bring Nicholas. And I was like, all right, I guess we could bring Nicholas over. But yeah, and then we started our machinery.
And this is your new endeavor.
Yes.
And this is taking 20 years of experience
yes.
and all of these different engine sort of background pieces that you've been able to compile.
Exactly.
And now what is our machinery? Are you guys ready to announce your product? Is it out there?
We are still in an R&D phase, but that said, we're again, I'm kind of taking all the stuff that I learned at Rockstar where I just don't want to do the normal dog and pony show with like the press release and the interview on Gama Sutra. I mean, and all those things are great, and we'll probably need to do them. But we really wanted to be very community based. So we do a lot of stuff through our blogs, and we've got a podcast, and our machinery podcast, that we talk about what we're working on. And like I said earlier, we're still in R&D phase, but we really want to build a tool that's super lightweight, super modular. So let's say that you're making a VR game, but you don't want to use Unity because it's got all this other stuff attached to it, and you need it to be really quick and light. So
you can get the VR version of our
you just
machinery.
get the VR package, and that's it.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then we're
so
also...
it's like the Creative Cloud? Is that how you're kind of envisioning it?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe. Yeah, we haven't really, like, fully, like, wrapped our head around, like, what exactly is this platform/product yet. We kind of pulled out the engine, and we made it a little game maker too, so that like anybody can make, like the UI is really simple, and anybody can make it almost like a Roblox-y type things. So we're just kind of playing around with stuff, and
looking at games like Dreams and stuff, and Super Mario Maker, and thinking this is the next level of that.
Yeah.
So anybody that's got any interest, and I imagine it'll be free. Is that the until you go commercial?
We don't know what we're gonna do business-wise yet. We have an alpha, so if any developer out there wants to be on our alpha, they can certainly join the community. But we're excited about the Stadia stuff actually that Google's doing, and we might want to like work with the developer to see and explore like what we can do with that. Like it's kind of sky's the limit, because
do you want it to scale to like compete with Unreal and IdTech and stuff like that?
I don't think I think there's room for everybody, honestly. But I think that we want to scale the company. Like we've been self-funding, like we've been paying like our own cash and all this stuff. And we would like to grow the team a little bit bigger. I know Tobias, our partner in Stockholm, is a little lonely and wants some technical artists over there, so we could start building cool demos and stuff. So
that's cool.
I would love to give him some people to work with.
Awesome. I'll introduce you to the VFS.
Oh, that would be great.
The teachers here.
Yeah.
Because they're putting students out into the world all the time that want to be technical artists.
Oh, right on.
Some of them are from Sweden and from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They come out over here.
Yeah. VFS has a whole international thing, which is pretty rad.
I love Canada.
It's pretty good here.
Yes. I love you, Canada.
Well, so this is what you're working on now.
Yes.
And we don't really have something to announce yet.
Not yet, yeah.
But stay tuned for Our Machinery.
But I've given you more scoop than anybody else.
That's awesome. and people can follow along on the podcast.
Yes, we have a podcast, Our Machinery Podcast. You can get it on iTunes or Exploder or whatever situation that you use. And we also have blogs. So if you're really into techie, like getting down dirty deep, like technical stuff, please like read our blogs.
Awesome.
We've had a couple of people actually build little engines off the blogs that we've been writing on, off our philosophies and stuff, from Tobias and Nicholas. So.
Wild. And if people are, and you're looking for people to add to the team, so if people are interested,
it's just it's ping at ourmachinery.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when do you expect we might see the first Our Machinery games, if everything goes?
If everything goes well, maybe by like next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
And you guys internally won't be developing your own titles, or is that part of the plan too?
We might. Like, that's one thing that we're kind of exploring right now. Like maybe because, I'm really like, I'm kind of a control freak, and I'm like, maybe we should just do our own game or do our own thing, and like show everybody the demo and stuff. So.
I suspect that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think you have a passion for the business, clearly, but I feel like it's been a while since you've shipped a thing.
It has.
Right?
And
Amazon takes a lot out of you because they have a lot of money over there, but they're not in any rush to ship anything.
No, they're not.
Like.
No, they're not. It did. Yeah,
and I've talked to a lot of developers that are like, okay, are we gonna ship something? That have made lots of things, and they just want to ship something over there, but it takes forever to ship something.
Yeah, it's a long process working over there.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's the culture.
It's big.
Yes.
Yes.
So. Yeah. That's what happens at big companies, I guess. That's what I learned.
Well, Our Machinery, look for that, you guys. And thank you so much for being here.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.